Right, hello and welcome back to Rebound with Resilience, a podcast dedicated to raise your resilience, mindset, and mental wellness. And today, I'm grateful to be joined by Mr. William Lee. Mr. Lee, how are you doing?
Yeah, fine. Thank you for inviting me here.
Sure.
Yeah.
No, in fact, thank you. I really thank you and I appreciate your graciousness and kindness towards me. I was just telling Ita that you're the only one that prepared something for me. I sent you the flow. Oh my gosh, you're the only one that sent back flow for me to take a look at. So I really appreciate that. How would you like me to address you? Mr. William, Mr. Lee?
Just call me William will do.
Call you William?
Yeah, let's dispense with the formality.
Sure. Yeah. I think Will I am, right? You were saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So I think just to give an introduction of the podcast, I think most of you listening might be aware of the context, but I'll just share it a little bit for those of you that may not be aware. So in I think November last year, it was the PSLE results day, and I think last year there was a story that went viral that was picked up by, of course, media outlets, and many Singaporeans were touched by the story, and that is actually of Mr. William's son Raphael. So he passed away from a complication from a surgery that was that had to be done because of cancer, and of course his parents took his results on his behalf and he scored 220 with 2 A's for math and science and 2 B's for English and mother tongue. And I think most strikingly, a lot of people, news media outlets covered it. I think most strikingly, people talked about the resilience that Raphael had. And also, to me, the one that really impacted me was his thoughtfulness and his love that he demonstrated to people, even though he was suffering. So, so today I invited William to actually speak about Raphael's journey, and of course, your journey in taking care of him. In one of the videos, I think your wife Winnie said at the end of the video, Winnie said, "Good job, Raphael. Let others learn from you." And in one of the articles, you also mentioned that Raphael wanted to inspire other people with his story, and right now, you want to take on that role and inspire others on his behalf.
Yes.
So I'm really hoping that I can provide you that platform, both for people to learn from him, like your wife said, and for you also to share about his life.
Sure.
As I said with you earlier, anything that you're not comfortable with, like let me know, we can edit it out, or I'll just move on to the next question.
I'm willing to share almost everything, and you may do your editing in case certain is out of context.
Sure. Thanks, William. No, I still, this is still important for me because like you said, sometimes in media we can be a little bit self-centered. We just want to do out the story, but media is also about the interest of the person you're interviewing and how they want the story to be told. Yeah. So, okay. So I guess we can start off with Raphael's condition. It was 8 months. 8 months.
Yeah, that was 2008. So the first encounter, or rather the first episode Raphael went through, was what we call a rhabdomyosarcoma.
Okay.
This is a soft tissue tumor on his left forearm. How do we actually find it? When kids being toddler,
Sure.
those people who carry him will tend to feel, because the time he was still really quite plump, so quite fleshy. So people tend to feel every part of him. And then by chance, we spotted something quite hard on his left forearm.
Okay.
Then we sent him to a GP, which said that it might be just a clot. Just give it 2 weeks to go away. But unless 2 weeks later it doesn't go away, then we'll refer us to a specialist. And true enough, 2 weeks later, the heart tissue didn't go away.
Okay.
So immediately went to KK Hospital, and the rest of the flow, like biopsy, was done, and it was confirmed it is a malignant tumor.
Okay.
Yeah. Then the journey starts 2009. Operation done to remove the tumor, and Raphael has to go through chemotherapy and followed by radiotherapy.
He was quite young back then. It's really young.
Just 8 months. Yeah, coming to a year old, then have to go through all this. So at the end of the treatment, we thought everything just fine, and hopefully it doesn't come back again, so that at least Raphael won't feel the pain now since he was still so young then. Until 2016, when Raphael was 8 years old in primary 2, another tumor was found on the left forearm, but this time now it's not a soft tissue tumor anymore, it's on the bone. So a biopsy was done and confirmed it is a malignant tumor, and this time it's bone cancer, osteosarcoma.
Okay.
Luckily, the surgeon was still able to save the arm, so he went through cryotherapy, whereby they freeze the arm, the bones there. They cut away the tumor and freeze the bone.
Okay.
After that, the arms is already considered fragile, so he has to be supported with a brace, to prevent any fall that will cause fracture. And he was recovering well. He still need to go through chemo, and he was recovering well. So we will again feel thankful, that he still managed to pull through.
Okay.
But at the same time, it also triggered us to go for a genetic test, because a late effect of radiotherapy may also have a cancer, reoccurrence of cancer. But the oncology found that it's too soon. Usually it will take about 20 years later to see a late effect. But it seems before 10 years old, Raphael has already got a so-called relapse. And therefore, we did a genetic test and confirmed that both myself and Raphael are positive for a genetic disorder.
Right.
We should call it the Lee-Romney syndrome. Right. So a quick description about Lee-Romney syndrome is about this gene, the TP53, which is able to suppress cancer, is not functioning well. It mutates. But on the positive side, I told Raphael each time, is that it's genetically proven that you're authentically my son.
I see.
Yes, this is most of the time I told him, and many times he will say that, Papa, are you proud of me? I scored this, I scored that. I say, of course, you have my genes.
Sure. And during that time, how did he respond, especially in the first diagnosis? Chemo is not as painful, right? I mean, you have to go through some physical pain.
Yes. When he was 8 months old, the sight of doctors coming with the stethoscope actually scared him. He will break into tears. So to overcome that, we purposely go and buy those toy medical kit, with the stethoscope.
Right.
So we let him put on that stethoscope. And then we told the doctor, if you can listen to his pulse or listen to his lungs, let him do the same on you, so that he will overcome his fear. And miraculously, he overcome that fear, and he was just welcome the doctor with the stethoscope to come. So this is how we try to overcome that fear.
Sure.
But being 8 years old, he's already more or less grown up.
Yeah.
And my wife and myself were a bit worried. This time round, he's going to feel the pain going through operation. But I think he was not at all worried, because once we know that he's going to save his arm, to him being a child, he knows that he's still going to live. So he was, although a bit worried, but in the end, he still wake up with a smile, etc. Yeah. And we went through chemo. This is the first time as an 8-year-old experiencing the side effects of chemo, where there's nausea, there's throwing up.
Sure.
So the one thing I told him was, the oncologist has already told us about the side effects. So now we already tell you that there will be side effects, they're throwing up, then it's normal. So don't be worried. And after that, he was very assured, even when he threw out with a smile, Yeah. So at least we told him that as long as you have the side effect, it means the medicine is working on your body.
Okay. And you said also because he didn't want you to worry, he seldom talked about his emotions. Did he initially, was really say, dad, mom, I need support, because it's going through something different for him?
No. Most of the time, I think based on the 2 episodes of cancer he went through, naturally, my in-laws who were taking care of him
Okay.
will always help him to get things done. So he has never come to me for any help until the amputation of his arm. That was in 2017. So, of course, when he was still with the braces during the second episode of cancer, because he couldn't use too much force on his left arm, at times just carrying heavier stuff, he just asked me to help him carry, or even to remove Lego blocks. He would just approach me to just remove it for him. Yeah.
Sure.
So until the amputation, he also did not approach me that much, except for carrying stuff for him. That's all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it came also to the amputation.
Yes.
Eventually. I think initially he was upset, right, about that.
So the third time, when we go for a normal follow checkup, before that we already spotted a tumor around the wrist, also on the left forearm. So during the follow checkup, to just check on his bone recovery, and the surgeon said that the bone is recovering well. That is a good thing, a good news.
Okay.
But the sad news is the tumor at the wrist is again another osteosarcoma, which is a bad news. So he isn't sure that whether cryotherapy is able to treat. So since all this, inclusive this current episode is the third time everything is on the left hand, he suggested to end all episodes, amputate the forearm. We have no choice. The only thing I told Raphael, if this is to increase your survival rate, a small arm is just a small sacrifice. We just want you to be alive together with us. Although he is upset, somehow I think a lot of encouragement. We said that I'm not going to. I told him something which made him cry just the day of his admission for amputation. I told him, "Don't worry about amputation of your arm. I'm not going to love you any lesser." He broke into tears, but he breathed up very quickly. The moment after he cried, he dried out his tears, he looked at me and he said, "I'm going to the toilet." And then he went to the toilet. I didn't know what he's doing in the toilet, but I think Mommy told me that most of the time when he's upset, at every conferences with the doctors, he would just say go to the toilet. And in fact, he went to the toilet to cry his heart out. After that, he came up, he's pretty okay, as if nothing has happened. Yeah. So he will just allow us to decide for him, because to him, maybe he does not understand what's the treatment going to be like. Let us go through the treatment protocol, treatment strategies with the oncologists and the surgeons.
Okay.
The only worry I have was after the operation, when he woke up, how are we going to console him for the loss of his arm?
Okay.
Which in fact surprised us when I visited him in hospital the next day. He wasn't crying over his arm. In fact, he used his thumb and waved at me.
Wow.
And waved at me and smiled. Then he even told me that, "Papa, I think my left side is lighter now." And I came a chance upon a Facebook message that was very interesting, which says that, what do you call a person who lost his left arm? And the answer was, he's all right now.
I see.
Yeah, so when I labeled him to that, he was very happy.
I see.
Yes.
Okay. And he also turned that into he became like pirate sometimes, and then he wore.
Yeah, it was just after his discharge.
Yeah.
We were just in time for Halloween. That was in Canberra CC Community Centre. So my wife just bought the tickets, and when we attend the event, we bought him just a pirate outfit,
Yeah.
and we only had registered him ad hoc at that point of time where the registration has already closed. But I think the organizers saw that CCF beneficiaries also can participate. Right? CCF stands for Children Cancer Foundation. So he was allowed to participate, although he didn't win, but at least we let him enjoy. Yeah, and it's truly showing everybody that his thumb can be installed with a hook, to show that he's really Captain Hook.
Yeah. I saw the pictures. It's cute. Okay, so I guess moving forward from there, eventually, even after the amputation, he did come back. Right at age 11, there's a collarbone.
Yes, age 11, it surprised the medical team. We thought that everything is all on the left arm, but never expect on the right collarbone there's another tumor. And this outcome also is very uncertain because on the CT scan, the image showed that the tumor is cleaning on a very major blood vessels known as the subclavian vein.
Okay.
So the surgeon was in a dilemma of how to treat because it was at the junction where the vein serves the brain as also the right hand.
Okay.
So in the worst scenario, he might lose his right hand again in order to save the brain. I was given a choice to state my preference. And I told the surgeon, I like to have the best of everything. With your hand still there and the brain still there, and then just treat the tumor. And the surgeon told me it's almost impossible. And we have to, it's very tough to motivate Raphael.
Okay.
We're also not sure of whether to go through this operation.
Okay.
But again, I come up with this analogy to him. I said, you have to tell us your decision. It's not about us wanting you to go through that. So if this operation would fail, we will regret because we do not know whether is this your preference. So in order to make him understand, I say take this operation as your PSLE. If you have no confidence to sit for the PSLE, just tell us which subject will you fail. So at least when we receive your results, it's fail, we know you have told us that you are not confident. So it's the same thing. So you must tell us whether are you confident to go for the operation. Even the even the surgeon said that if the boy is not ready, then no point proceeding operation because the patient's will is important.
Okay.
So I think Raphael understand the part when he use an examination context to let him decide. And I told him, you don't tell me answer now, because if you tell me answer now, it's just to patronize me. So just really give your deep thoughts. Just tell me when you are ready to tell me your answer.
Okay.
And I remember it was a Thursday evening. And he looked at me, he dried out his tears. And he said he will tell me answer on Saturday. I said, good. So on a Saturday evening, he came to me, he smiled at me and said, Papa, I want to go for the operation. Then I told him, okay, but I'm now too tired. But I'm glad that you made this decision. Why not tomorrow? Then you tell me why you decided to go for the operation. And the next day when I asked him, he said, because there's a chance of recovery. So why not? So I say finally you understand that why we want you to make that decision. And during the surgery, of course, we were full of anxieties. Until it was like 9 p.m. It was around 9 p.m. Then my wife called me and said the surgery has ended. Raphael's hand is still intact and his brain is still okay. So the tumor on the digital image shows it's clinging onto the vein, subclavian vein, but which in fact not. So miraculously, they were able to remove the collarbone without sacrificing, without cutting the subclavian vein at all. So we were so overwhelmed with the kind of joy. And the next day, miraculously, he was able to discharge, which also caught the medical team there by surprise. The surgeon said that Raphael did not waste too much blood at all, did not lose much blood at all. And since he was able to tolerate the pain, he was able to discharge the next day. And just have to pay certain attention to his movement on the bed in order not to aggravate the pain, the surgical wound. And at home, he was pretty fine at all, enduring the pain. He did not cry that much on the pain. Yeah.
Okay. So it was such a journey to be able to go through all those things, and I guess eventually going through the ups and downs, there had to be that final surgery when he was 12 years old. And I know this is a little bit sensitive. I guess if you don't want to answer it, just let me know. But when that happened, the surgery had to take place. And what were your thoughts going into that surgery, that final one?
Prior to the surgery, when we had this conference with the medical team, the surgeon told us this is just another normal surgery to remove the nodules on the lungs. Which in fact, when it was first done in April and May, they did told us that usually if there's a reoccurrence, they're still able to cut. And all precautionary measures are ready. So we thought this is just another normal operation, which Raphael should be able to pull through. But however, this little boy seems to sense something not right. And even before we meet the medical team for conferences, he already started asking his mommy some strange questions like, Mommy, how will you feel if I cannot outlive you? When mommy shared this with me, I thought he's just don't get oversensitive over this. Yeah. And before the operation, he really was very nervous and scared. He cried to his mommy saying that this time is not the same, Mommy. I don't want to die. And again, I told him, hey, you went through numerous surgery before. So what's there to worry about? And of course, when I met the medical team, it was a kind of annoyance when I told them that we are the worst gamblers compared to those who go to the casinos. Each of the treatment that we went through is all a gamble, whether he will get well or if not. And this is don't know how many numerous times we are coming back. We are losing our chips. Are you confident that we will win this time again? Of course, the surgeon say with all precaution measures in place, he definitely will be able to pull through. But we never expect on the surgery evening that itself, suddenly we spotted the portal in the operating theatre coming out to collect blood. And it's not just one time, numerous times. She was running out and out and bring the blood, the packets of blood in. And that time, I think the only operating theatre was still active was where Raphael was in. And we start to worry. And true enough, one of the surgeons came out and said that they were trying to remove a tumor on the blood vessel and somehow it bleeds. And they managed to get the cardiac surgeon to come in to repair the bleeding site. And when the cardiac surgeon came out to say that they managed to repair it, but the strange thing is that blood vessel is not really a major blood vessel, But the unusual thing is, why is it bleeding profusely? And Raphael's heart has stopped for about 45 minutes to an hour, and they have been resuscitating him during this time, and even did defibrillation on him. And they are worried that because the heart is weak due to the loss of blood, the brain might get affected. And they had to abort the operation and put him under ICU for monitor. The next day, we met up with the surgical team as well as the ICU staff, and they said that based on their clinical examination, Raphael has no reflexes, which clearly explained that he has lost too much blood and the brain is dead. But to confirm it, he has to go through a brain scan, which was scheduled after that, and brain scan proved that his brain is already dead. That was a very uneventful surgery. But when you think back, we could have lost him on the 12th instead. But due to, I think, the intensive resuscitation and the intervention of those cardiac surgeons, they are still able to prolong him by another day to let the close relatives, friends, to pay him farewell at his deathbed.
Okay. Even before the last surgery, I think I read that he told you and your wife to give some time alone with his priest, right? Father Kamalas.
Yes.
And he said that he told his priest that I'm afraid this time, and then he hugged him.
The priest did not tell us that, but before Raphael went into the surgery, we were at the waiting area, waiting bay. He was already tearing. So again, both my wife and me, we just asked him, why are you crying? A lot of people are praying for you. This is just another normal operation to go through. Just be strong, okay? We'll wait for you till you come out. And he looked at me, he says, I'm afraid. Again, I tried to tell him, don't be afraid, come on, just brace up. A lot of people are praying for you. So what you can do is before you close your eyes, just pray one last time, just say, Lord Jesus, stay with me. My guardian angels or the choir of angels, archangels, protect me. And he just nodded his head. And he just remained quiet throughout until he went in together with Mommy. Then he told Mommy, because most of the time, sedation was done with him lying down, but he asked permission to be in seated position. Then after the anesthesia go in, he just told Mommy he wants to lie on Mommy, and after that he went to sleep. And that was the last time.
I see. Okay. I guess later on I might ask you a little bit about how they had to cope initially and how you eventually accepted and move on. But moving back into, first of all, thank you for sharing this journey. I know it's not easy to go through the details, but I appreciate you sharing about his life and how he went through it, how you went through it. We also want to talk about, before he passed, the life that he led, the people that he touched, the love and the resilience that he showed. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, if you don't mind, about how he didn't just cope with it, he responded to it, and he even encouraged people around him. I want to read a little bit from... Tell me if it's not true, okay? Because sometimes, media, but yeah, this is what I read.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just going to quote some things. So I think first of all, even though during his journey, he never kind of let the situation let him down. He was still very inquisitive. He quizzed his doctors wanted to read up more about his condition. He challenged himself in terms of tough math problems, your wife was saying. I was robotics club, drama club, chess club. I was very active in school.
When I heard about him joining chess club at CCA, I said that is a very good selection because when you know how to play chess, you know how to anticipate your opponent's movement. This helps you to strategize. Another humorous part is that he wants to go into drama. That was, I think, after his amputation. And they said, what role can you play with one arm? Unless your school is going to do some condo heroes, and you can only play Yang Guo. That's the only role that you can do. Yang Guo, who has only got one arm.
Right.
But I said in real life, please do not marry a cuckoo, to be my daughter-in-law. She's too old for you.
Sure.
So he just laughed along.
Right.
Yeah. And then moving on, I think in his upper primary level, he shared with mommy that he want to try his robotic. So I spoke to him. I said, it's not about just joining robotics for the sake of joining, just because you were overwhelmed by transformers, very robotic stuff. But think about how the CCA can help you, because to do robotics, you must be good in your math, your science, physics, etc. So with all this can help you in your subjects, go ahead. And one day, you could even come up with a robotic arm for yourself.
Right.
And I think he was happy that we encouraged him. Yeah. Yes. So when we talk about his passing on, especially on the day when we got his result in the afternoon, we got a call from hospital to inform us about a biopsy result. A biopsy was done the day before the fateful surgery on some parts of the bone, which was highlighted during the MRI. And we were told the cancer has already spread to various parts of the bones. So again, that day, of course, I was a bit, it's just a few seconds of sorrow moment that I think if I have request to postpone the surgery, or if I validate his fear and tell the surgeon that we do not want to go ahead with the surgery, he could still be around to receive his results and see for himself how well he has fared.
Okay.
But again, when we know the results, the cancer has spread, I think again, what's there to rejoice and only to know that he's going to be back under the knife again? Would it be even more painful that to feel that he might not make it to secondary one? So sometimes when I think back, I think Raphael has played chess. So we have strategized to have this timely departure.
I see.
Yeah, and of course the press did mention something that he succumbs to the disease. But when we look at it, his passing on was actually because of brain damage.
Yeah. It wasn't the cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, I find that if Raphael is smart enough, he chose to live through brain damage than to succumb cancer. And that means he wishes to perish together with the cancer cells and not to let them overcome him.
I see. Okay. In that, talking about that, that's something that, his constant wanting to help other people and his bravery as well. Because I think it's written here, I think Daniel Chen Si he shared that teachers brought him to Bounce trampoline park.
Yes.
He never allowed his lack of mobility to deter him from having fun, right? And he always just jumped around. I saw in a couple of videos that they showed how he's having fun. Another one of classmates, Hugo, 6 years, said that he always told jokes during recess, and a lot of them would just sit around and laugh.
Raphael enjoys hilarious moments, hilarious video clips. Sometimes when he knows something is quite hilarious, you come to me and share the jokes with me and see whether I will laugh over it as well. So now until sometimes I find that it's very lame, then I told him it's not funny at all.
I see. Okay, but it didn't stop him. It didn't stop him from actually, like I said, facing it head on, and the challenges he had head on, and seemed to have that resilience, which is something that people pointed out as well.
We were not there at the
the park lah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So the teachers videoed everything.
Ah,
I think he also touched the teachers also by his behavior, by his conduct in school. Children are like this at home. As parents, we don't see him behaving that way. It's only when each parent-teacher meeting, then the teachers tell us about how he behaved in school. We are very surprised. So sometimes at home, I just say that, hey, you seem to have a split personality. You can behave well in school. Why can't you do the same at home?
sure. Okay. Apart from his enthusiasm, resilience in school, I think one thing that really touched my heart very deeply was his thoughtfulness and love that he displayed. I just want to quote some things here that were shared by Kirsten Yu, I think is a social worker at Children's Cancer Foundation, that he would take every treatment in his stride. He could go around encouraging patients as well, greeting people with a smile. And also I'd like to quote from Father Kamalas, is that how I pronounce it?
Yes.
He mentioned in the interview that there's something about the boy you can't really put a finger to, that's beyond human. I think that's the words that he used. And he said he was able to show such great care and thoughtfulness even in his pain.
I would say that Raphael's heart is he's magnanimous. He won't bear grudges. Today, you can just scold him, he cry, a few minutes later, he's back to his old self again.
Right.
That's why sometimes I would just joke around him, or even I'm very stern with him, I said, no wonder you don't learn from your mistakes. After scolding you, you cry, you show that you are remorseful. A couple of minutes later, you're back to your old self.
Sure.
And he doesn't blame anybody. One of the very solemn moment I have with him was, I think after I was down in my own affliction, my own colon cancer, was in treatment, then I told him that I have this load in my heart that has been bothering me for a long time since your amputation. I don't want you to blame me for failing as a father to protect your arm. I told you that moment he broke into tears. He come and hug me and say, Papa, it's not your fault. The moment I told him, thank you for not blaming me, at least I feel at ease now.
Sure.
And another thoughtfulness encounter was after knowing that I got colon cancer myself.
Yeah.
He shared with Mommy, he cried and asked Mommy, why not let me take Papa's place? Because I went through numerous episodes, I'm more experienced than him. Papa is definitely inexperienced to handle the side effects of chemo. When I heard this, I didn't cry. I just told him, you silly boy, we have been proven that we are genetically bonded. So it's normal that both father and son go through this together. Right? It's easy to tell you to be strong and to be brave. But now I'm experiencing it myself. I have to lead by example.
Yeah. Sorry, I just got a bit emotional listening to you because, sometimes I look at my own. I feel embarrassed sometimes, when I have such small things. Sometimes we have such small things and we cannot forgive. We always have that grudge. But for him to say that to you, yet I have 5 cancer treatments. Let me take your burden. In such pain, he was able to care for you as a father, and that really is something that I cannot. I mean, that moment must have been. How did that feel like when he told you that to you?
I just told him, silly boy, I just tell him that. But deep inside my heart, I feel they have such a wonderful boy.
Yeah,
who wishes to sacrifice himself to take my place. So when my wife was asking me how to reveal his MRI results and he's going for operation again. I said, let me be the one to speak to him. Then when before we review the results, we have a prayer session together. After that, I spoke to him and said, you wanted to take my place, which is something silly. And now what have happened? The nodules are back in your lungs. You shouldn't have made that promise. No, for me, I'm your father. I can undergo the pain. But now because you wanted to take my place, aren't you bringing this upon yourself? He cried after knowing that he's going to have another operation. But again, the time we were still thinking that since every precaution measure are in place, he shouldn't be worrying too much. I just said that, don't worry. I did mention that we are a family of 3. We will fight every battle together.
And how are you now? The colon cancer has been in remission.
So I sometimes when I think, I may not be religiously exemplary in my behavior. And how do I have such a good son who probably is passing on, his suffering, is redeeming my sins, which is, to me, a very noble act. And all the more, I think, to repay him for that thoughtfulness, his failure, I have to fight on, have to stay on.
Okay.
And I'm different from my wife because I lost most of my family members, my closest kin, my parents, all to cancer. And even my son, my eldest brother, to cancer. I'm the only one left. And although I'm able to recover from my own cancer, and maybe due to Raphael's sacrifice, I was spared the chemotherapy. But just need to have a regular screening.
Yeah. Okay, I guess rounding up this segment, just rounding up the thoughtfulness that Raphael had. Sorry, it took a while also for me to. Yeah, I mean, I just really cannot imagine because I mean, there's a story that I might have just shared this with you. It's by Mother Teresa. I think she was in India serving people. Then she was saying the people that were very poor because, she gave a bread to a kid and they would eat it crumb by crumb. And you ask them why, it's because they feel that if the crumbs are gone, they have nothing left. That poor and that hungry. So there's once that someone told her, like, there's someone that's asking for rice. But I think it's a Muslim household, like, go and give rice to these people because they need this rice. So she went and gave rice to these people. Immediately after the person received the rice, right, she went out, went to the neighbor, gave the neighbor half the rice. It's a Hindu neighbor, I believe. Different faith, but gave it the rice. Then Mother Teresa was very curious. She asked him, why are you giving the rice? You're so hungry. So she said that from there she learned a very powerful lesson that even in the suffering, even in pain, they were able to spare a thought for their neighbor or someone else. And when I read about Raphael's love, that's what I actually thought about. And even his priest also said that, while he was experiencing diarrhea in the hospital, he sent a text message to him and said, have you taken your gout medicine?
Yes.
He's like expressing care to his priest, even during his own struggles. But I hope that's one lesson I think we can really learn from him. Even your wife was saying that, what can we learn from him? I think this is something that I'll keep in my heart and appreciate.
I think Raphael himself does not know what is through his actions. Is unconsciously affecting others. I think, especially during his wait, many attendees who came who we really do not know them at all. And it's all the traits where we owe them to the prayer warriors from the church that we attend to. The catechists there, they have their own network of prayer warriors.
Yep.
When they activate them, there was almost various parts of Singapore to pray for him. So most of them come and say, we want to look at this young hero, pay respect to him, because this angel unites us in prayer. Which I think Raphael will never think that what he has done has actually, what he went through will actually make people unite together in prayer, but particularly to pray for him. So it's already like uniting people in prayer.
Sure. Can we discuss a little bit, just rounding up, just to discuss a little bit about, you and your wife, how you had to go through that years, right, of going ups and downs. How did you face that period, and where do you find your strength from?
Each time when I feel down, it's not because I'm so proud of my name, but I remember this one time I asked my dad, you are a much more staunch Catholic than myself, and people at your times would like to name children after some great saints. But why do you choose William for me? And when I Googled William, he's not some great saint, just some minor saint up there, And why do you name me? And he just told me, I forgot why I want to name you William. When my brother was named after James, that is Saint James. But most Saint William is not so significant at all to mention.
Yeah.
Then I don't know until one day I start to think that I break my name into Will and I am. So if we remove the will, I am nothing. So when I registered my wife in this RCIA, a class that converts non-Catholics to Catholic, this is what I told them, that I am God's will. And without God's will, I'm just nothing. So sometimes I just fall back, look at my name and say, I have to have the will to move on. That's why, although my wife is still grieving, she still shares with some friends that she's trying to move on. I usually tell I already moved on because I have shed enough tears. And it's the same thing I told Raphael each time he cried. I say, don't use crying to escape. Although crying can help to vent out, but don't use that as excuse to keep crying, because I'm more worried that if you're crying, the body sense that you are sorrowful, and your condition will just deteriorate. Although my wife on the other hand say it's okay for you to cry because you allow your blessings to be filled in with blessings. Then each time when Raphael cried, I say, are you so lack of blessings that you need to always let blessing to come in?
Sure.
I think it's okay to cry, but always think that after you cry, be strong and move on, so that when the same thing happens again, you don't have to cry again. This is what usually I told myself.
Okay.
Because I'm a regular last time in the army.
Oh,
so
I didn't know that.
there are times that I do have sad moments. I went through struggles. And again, I did cry. But so each time after I cried, I tell myself the same thing happened again, I'm not going to cry. So I tell the same thing to Raphael. That's why Raphael would never want to cry in front of me. And that was the obedient part. He remembers my words. So he will cry in front of mommy. And after that, he just tell mommy, don't let Papa know that I cry.
Okay. Sure. Can we touch a little bit on faith? Because I know we spoke a little bit, and faith is, regardless of your own religion, I think faith is something that's very powerful. And I know it helped you along as well. Could you define what faith is in your own definition?
Faith is, to me, is something that is spiritual. And why did I tell Raphael to pray earnestly is when Western medicine has its limitations, it depends on ourselves. And ourselves will very much depend on the faith. So we have to pray for divine help that will help us pull through. Even you have to leave this world, you'll be a peaceful one.
Okay.
Yes. But if you ask me whether has Raphael displayed such faith, it depends on the testimony of those catechists. Because to us, he was like me when we attend church masses. We doze off. And when I asked any church ministries that you want to join, and he looked at me blankly. He just does not want to be an altar server, doesn't want to be in a choir, So I said, when you pray for help, you just have to imagine if Jesus is now together with us, okay, in this society now where we could be very practical. So if Jesus will come to you and say, I receive prayers, I receive pleading to save you, tell me, how will I benefit if I were to save you? So how are you going to tell Jesus? You cannot just say, Jesus, save me, full stop. And he gave a deep thought, and then said, no, you have no answer. But just offer something in thanksgiving. Don't brag, okay? Don't brag that you will definitely want to become a priest yourself. Because you are a boy of a few words. And you can't preach. So how can you become a priest? Then your sermon will be a very short one. Of course, when I share this with a few friends, so most of them were laughing and then say that, William, if you become a priest,
Yeah, good one.
a lot of people will attend because his sermon is the shortest one.
Oh, is it? Okay, that's funny. But I think it's right that you say about the power of faith, just believing in the spirit and mind and body is linked, and like you say, sometimes where practicality fails, we need to tap on something greater than ourselves, to have that source of strength to carry on. And I think he did display a lot of faith in his own right, in living his life.
Yes, there's one event that was after his amputation. Actually, prior to the amputation, he was in part of this Christmas pageant, and he was playing the role of Saint Gabriel, the messenger to deliver the incarnate word to the mother of Jesus.
Yeah.
So after his amputation, I asked whether with one arm can he still be playing the role of Saint Gabriel. And we were happy that the role is still kept for him.
Oh yes, because, I saw that photo.
Yeah. So in the first way, they purposely would select Raphael to be Saint Gabriel because the three very renowned archangels were Saint Michael, Saint Gabriel, and Saint Raphael. So
he didn't choose himself.
He didn't. So they just give him the pose.
Okay.
And they just say, okay, just act as per normal. And Raphael plays the role very well. Yeah. And I didn't know the lot of pictures that show him. A lot of comments were saying that he looked so angelic.
Yeah. So nice. Yeah, I guess we have to round up this sharing. I just one or two last questions I'd like to ask you, if you don't mind. What were some of the best moments that you shared with your son, and what you feel is the greatest lessons that he taught you?
Some of the best moment is I always have this impression that Raphael is a sore loser. So each time when we play fighting,
okay,
I beat him, I stab him, and he will not admit defeat. He will change the sword.
I see.
He will change the sword. And again, I beat him. He will just insist to change the sword. I say it's about how you fight. It's not about the weapon that we have.
Okay.
And each weapon, the toy weapon that he has, you have to use as an experiment to aim at me, to shoot at me. And I will ask him, did the instruction on this toy say, use this weapon on your father? He will laugh. And then there's one occasion he purposely go and write on the box instruction, use this weapon on your father.
Okay.
So each time when he got any new toy, he aim at me. Then before I ask, he say, "You want to ask me whether?" Yes, he did mention because it's our father.
Sure. So these little moments you appreciate and treasure.
Yeah, and sometimes, of course, when he has some very simple accomplishment, he will ask me, I'm talented, right? Then I'll just say, yeah, but I'm still a supreme one. Don't forget, I'm your father.
Okay.
Yeah, then of course he give the kind of laughter, ha 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 ha, ha, the kind of thing.
Okay. And the lessons? Lessons you learned?
I feel that Raphael, that this different type of resilience that he has, no doubt I can be very stern and strict at times. But he will still come back to me for very, very, how should I put it? For some serious discussion, When I talk to him, he really make a point to listen to every bit of what I say. So sometimes when I ask him, do you prefer to listen to mommy or to listen to papa? He does not know how to express himself, so he used a paper and scribble to me, which means he draw something like, for me, I just come to the point, one dot.
Sure.
So for mommy, dot, so many things until to reach the point.
Sure.
So to him, it feels that it's very low, so very long-winded. But lesson to him to I learned is that I really cherish the time that I must really spend time with the one I love. So one of the things that what makes me want to keep on fighting on and stop moving on is another thing is for my wife. My wife upbringing is different from mine. As I said, I experienced the loss of my closest kins. Now, the very immediate family that I have is only my wife. I'm not too sure are we able to have children anymore in future. But definitely I have to be strong for her. Yes. And looking at Raphael, I would just use those loving memories to strengthen me.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, William, for your time. This is about an hour you spent with us.
Yeah.
I have no words because it's hard to express my emotions now, but I'm just really thankful that you took time to actually talk to us, and we'll be doing our best to produce this and put it out so that people can also hear from you.
Yeah, that's one thing I find when Raphael said he wants to inspire others. That's why I said that, you can't speak well and you don't write well, so how to inspire others. So I guess now he's leaving, he'll just say that, Papa, you just talk on my behalf. Most of the time, you just say that you do for me this, that. Yeah, so I think that's the only thing I can do for Raphael. And also, by doing so, it keeps him forever in my heart.
Okay. I guess that comes to the end of this podcast. If you're touched by the story in any way, I guess you can send. Is there any way they can reach you? Probably not, right? Facebook or anything?
I think if everybody can just channel to you, then I probably add you to my Facebook.
Yeah, okay. So if there's any message, that makes sense. If there's any message you want to convey through after listening to the podcast, just send it to me or send it to William. And of course, subscribe for future episodes. Stay resilient. And we'll see you next time. Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.